Hello YouTube, this is Al coming to you once again for Kindred Souls of Brooklyn, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel if it's your first video you're watching, and if it's your second or third or fourth, thank you again for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed, please do, and if you want to leave me a comment, just leave me a comment on the video. I'd really appreciate it. I do take requests, and I love doing videos based on Brooklyn and all kinds of cool stuff. So folks, tonight I want to do a talk on Saturday Night Fever, the movie. It's celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and I want to do some more videos on location. I love the Verrazano Bridge, which was a key icon of the movie in Saturday Night Fever. And if you've seen the movie lots of times, you might not have realized that there was a lot of symbolism for the bridge for Tony and his friends, and it really wasn't obvious in the movie, but the symbolism behind the bridge was basically that they were looking for a better life over in Staten Island. Staten Island, not necessarily that it's so much better than Brooklyn, but especially at the time, it represented more of a suburban life. And it still kind of does, where you have a bigger house and you have a pool in the backyard. Sometimes in Brooklyn you don't have that. But then again, there's a lot of things that Brooklyn has that Staten Island doesn't have. So anyway, I wanted to do a video on Saturday Night Fever because I sat down and I thought about how very many movies were made in Brooklyn. There's been so many movies made in Brooklyn, you couldn't even begin to list them. And I said to myself, what is probably the most popular movie ever made in Brooklyn? And of course, when you think about a popular movie, you want to bring in a movie that was so influential, and not just a movie that was filmed there, but maybe had such a tremendous impact on the culture of America or the world. And when I sat down and thought about all of these movies, I had to tip my hat to Saturday Night Fever, because myself, living in that generation, being 12 years old when the movie came out, I know that for me and my friends, once we saw that movie, even though we really weren't into disco music, we were more into the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and things like that, the music was very catchy. And there was songs that you just couldn't not like. So when I thought about this movie, I thought about how it really changed how we looked and how we dressed. If you think about the 70s and growing up in the 70s was a lot of long hair, and you kind of think of the 70s and people not washing their hair and wearing like old dirty jeans and things like that. Well, when I went to high school in 1980, I mean, all of us, I can't say all of us, but a very large percentage of my class in Bishop Ford High School in 1980 and going forward, we called it, I mean, I'm not Italian, but I have a lot of Italian friends. We called it the Cugine look. And Cugine kind of means cousin and stuff in Italian. But I would say me and all my friends, we dressed like John Travolta. We had leather jackets. And, going back, we were really lucky because Catholic school historically has made you wear a uniform. But for whatever reason at that time, the Catholic diocese decided for Bishop Ford anyway that we didn't have to wear a uniform, which was, I guess, good, and it was bad, but it was good in that we could just dress, we had kind of a dress code. You couldn't wear dingy stuff. You had to wear, like, dress clothes. But what happened was we all started dressing like John Travolta. It was kind of funny. And to this day, I'm a Catholic, but I wear my gold chain and my cross out. And I think I started doing that after watching that movie because all of my friends dressed like that. We all went out and we had members-only jackets. We bought leather coats. We had pants and shirts and shoes that matched. And I remember my grandparents not dressing like that, but really admiring how a lot of times I was dressed, because they were so used to seeing like the sloppiness of the 70s. It reminded them, because back in their era, they always dressed up to go to church. The old saying, wear your Sunday best. Well, a lot of the older people, they never wore jeans. They always wore hats, and they wore dress pants and shirts and ties. Well, here, all of a sudden, here was all these kids going and getting a haircut every 2 weeks and wearing matching clothes and designer jeans. It was unbelievable. So when I thought about the movies that were made in Brooklyn, this movie made such a tremendous impact on the culture. And it's hard to believe that it was only budgeted for $3.5 million. When you look at the budgets of movies today, it's staggering what the budgets are. I mean, I think the latest budget for the DC movie coming out for Justice League, I think the budget was like $1 billion. Of course, it'll probably make $10 billion, but it's just incredible to think that that movie was made for $3.5 million. And I think a large part of the reason why the movie Saturday Night Fever was so popular, especially in Brooklyn, was because John Travolta was already a household name in Brooklyn. And if you remember the show in the 70s, Welcome Back, Kotter, he was in that show for a couple of years, and then he left that to go into making movies. We already knew John Travolta. He was already a Brooklyn icon, and he was very accepted and believable in that role. So it was something that we took to very, very easily. And the fact that so many people live around Brooklyn and have moved to different places, it was very strange that when I lived in Florida, there were people still asking me about what was going on in Brooklyn, because I still had the store in Brooklyn and my sister was running it, and people would ask about the local characters from the neighborhood. So it's pretty amazing that 1 in 4 people, they say, has their origins from the New York area, from the Brooklyn area. Because don't forget, everybody came through Ellis Island. So it was very, very strong. But like I said, I wanted to do this video to commemorate the 40th anniversary of Saturday Night Fever, because it really encapsulates so many things that are Brooklyn, which are like the retail stores, eating a pizza from a local pizzeria, going on the subway, just walking along in the neighborhood and seeing the traffic and the cars and the people interacting with each other. It really captures Brooklyn, and it even captures it to this day. Now, Brooklyn, of course, isn't what it was back in Saturday Night Fever days, but it's, things change a little bit, but in a sense, if you go back to the neighborhood where they filmed that movie, Lenny's Pizzeria, where John Travolta put those 2 slices of pizza together, the pizzeria is still there, and it's got posters of John Travolta on the wall. So it's amazing. It's on 86th Street, and I think Bay 20th or whatever it is. And the B train, of course, is still there. And there's things in Brooklyn, as much as they change, they stay the same. And it's just an incredible movie. So as far as I'm concerned, I think Saturday Night Fever was the most iconic movie ever made in Brooklyn, New York, because it had such a tremendous impact on how we all dressed, even how we spoke, and the different things that we had done. So 40 years later, here we are, still talking about Saturday Night Fever. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you come to Brooklyn, please, you can visit so many of these icons that are still up and available to see. And like I said, I want to do some more videos on this, but I really appreciate you tuning in tonight. And if you haven't seen the movie for a while, do yourself a favor, check out Saturday Night Fever. Some great music by the Bee Gees, some timeless music and timeless dancing. And there'll probably be never another one like it. But folks, have a good night and stay strong, and I'll see you real soon. Until next time, this is Al signing off from Brooklyn, from the Garden Spot of America. Good night, everybody, from Brooklyn. Take care now. Bye-bye.